Good evening, fellow panelists. I think some of the most interesting times that we're living in from all the 3D topics that we intend to cover in the next 45 minutes, right? Whether it is data, whether it is cloud, whether it is compliance. Was reading in one of the articles, uh, Microsoft's revenue since the advent of this pandemic from a cloud perspective has grown about. But as CISOs, is that making our life easier moving to the cloud, or is it increasing more new age risks? What about the various compliances that we have to look from a data security, data privacy about? And then finally, essentially, when everybody is working from home, right? What are the controls that we need to put in place where we can stop data from being proliferated? Good evening to all of you. So I will, go in a very random manner, ask questions, seek inputs, pass it on to the panelists. Since I'm the moderator, I'm not too big a fan of my own voice. I'll let you do all the talking. So I'll start with you, Babita. When you got the invite for such an exciting conference, given from where you are, right? What are the first thoughts that came to your mind on the topic, please?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Hope I am audible to all. Uh, that topic is really relevant for the time. Uh, this event itself is an example for cloud adoption. We are in this pandemic situation, still in this pandemic situation, we are here and we are able to conduct such virtual events. And that is the way we are adapting to the cloud. So I really feel that this is a very relevant topic, and we have to go more deeper into the cloud. When we are adopting the cloud, it is for the most probably we are using it for the ease. We are normally sharing our workload to the cloud, and when we are because of this cloud, many of the organization has come to the digitalization. So I should say we should adapt to cloud, and but there are so many buts also in that. Uh, but because of this cloud nativeness, only we have come to this much digitalization.
Perfect. Coming to you, Rajesh, right? Uh, from a fintech perspective, cloud adoption, I'm sure, would have been one of your most successful strategies. But when you decide to move to cloud, right? What are the risks that you see from a cloud perspective, security perspective, privacy perspective?
So, I think there are a lot of myths about the cloud and security about the cloud and all that, right? So, there were myths that cloud inherently is not secure and all that. So now I consider it just an extension of whatever you have it in your physical data center. You are instead of it instead of sitting in front of your eyes, it's sitting in somewhere in the cloud, am I right? So how do you, I think, the control the access to the cloud? How do you ensure that the access is based on the same principles, least privilege principles, and all that? It matters more than anything else. Am I right? So I think that's where now we need to now look at it now from a risk and benefits point of view. So if you see the benefits which it provides, it is enormous. Am I right? From a going to the market and going looking at the type of fintech company we are in, we can't even afford to have taking 3 months to build a server or some and getting the hardware deployed and all that, am I right? So for us, the product gets delivered, products get developed today, and it needs to be deployed maybe in a 24 hours time. That's the type of speed we work in, at least in the fintech or space. Yeah.
Perfect. So you've brought down the development time and the deployment time from 3 months uh, to probably less than a day, and which obviously will increase a lot of cybersecurity risks. Coming to you, Mani, what are some of the challenges when small branches across the country would want to connect with the cloud, right? It is easier being in big cities where you've got the infrastructure, you've got the connectivity to move to the cloud. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, especially when we are connecting on cloud, there are majorly three challenges, especially when we talk to tier 3, tier 4 cities. The first thing is the bandwidth. So, because unless you have a strong bandwidth network connectivity, otherwise you will have a lot of issues related to latencies in terms of transactions. And second, most important thing is safety and security, because any infrastructure, whether it is on cloud or whether it is on premise, so you should ensure that your infrastructure is secured enough, because even though your complete applications are there on cloud, you should have relevantly secured environment at the end location where the data is being captured or processed. And third and most critical thing is management of multiple locations, right? Because when you have multiple branches or multiple offices across, then it would be really difficult to manage, both in terms of digitization as well as having a skilled set of resources. Because when you have multiple branch offices or whatever you say, so you need to have skilled resources at multiple levels. So these are the 3 4 major concerns which we generally have, apart from cybersecurity, because when you have a cloud infrastructure, so you cannot process entire data at the cloud itself. So you should have local processing at the end locations. So when you are doing connecting to the cloud, so you should ensure that whatever devices you are implementing or solutions you are implementing at the edge locations all should be secured and robust enough, so that there are no local threats to that. Yeah. So that's what is my view. So we lost you, Jasprit. You are on mute. Yeah.
No, no. Sorry, I was just unmuting myself. Thank you. So, a very interesting perspective. Now, let me go to Rafil. Everybody's spoken about some pieces of security. If we were to actually optimize our security from a cloud perspective, what are those 5 6 things that come to your mind? How would we achieve that? Okay, I think Mabul has some problem in connecting. Chandra, Indra, your thoughts? Do you want to just take this, please?
Yeah, I can definitely take that, something somewhat relevant to what we do.
Yeah, Chandra, please.
So difference with operating from a cloud versus on-premise or in-house. The difference is some of the operations are moving into the cloud, and the customer's sensitive data is also sitting on the cloud. Of course, there's no question, I think, that the cloud adoption is no more an optional thing. I don't think we should be looking at it that way, because businesses have moved on and consumers also expect quite a bit from the service providers. So adoption to the cloud is definitely not an option. Now, the downside to the adoption of the cloud is security, and how do we provide the same sense of security that we had, or the same sense of assurance that we had when we were operating from the on-premise locations. So, given that there are a number of cybersecurity frameworks and regulations and guidelines that have been published, widely used across the world. Different regulations are there. Cloud Security Alliance has done a great job. SOC 2 is another widely published and used compliance benchmark. NIST has also come up with a very interesting publication called Cybersecurity Framework, or a guideline, so that can be used by any organizations to adopt and adhere to these benchmarks. So if I have to identify some of the potential issues that must be looked at, I talked about sensitive data, so data being on the cloud. So it's important to build those protection around the data through encryption and data retention policies and some of those. Then the second most important thing is the identity, authorization, and access control, in the sense that who we are talking to, is that the right person that we are talking to, and does that person have the rights that person is supposed to have? Is there a escalation of privilege, for example? or a compromised identity, for example. So that's the second most important thing in my view. And the third is being able to automate the risk management part of it. So attacks happen because there are risks. Risks are vulnerabilities and loopholes that are there in the infrastructure where we have hosted. And risks continue to open. I mean, the vulnerabilities continue to open up every now and then. New vulnerabilities there which can be exploited by a particular threat. Unless we automate this exercise of performing a risk assessment as a day-to-day routine, we are not going to secure the cloud environment. So the automated risk management is a very important thing. And post that, it is about continuously monitoring the environment and detecting the potential threats and responding to those threats. So these are the 4 or 5 important things that I would recommend in order to secure any of the cloud environment. There is, of course, there is one unknown thing, which is the providers that we use, the cloud service providers. So there's always the shared components. So we don't have visibility to the shared security of those shared components and technologies. So that is where it makes sense to go with a provider who kind of gives us the assurance that is required for us to operate using those technologies that we use. So,
Super. Thank you so much, Chandra. We've heard about lot about cloud. Satyendra, coming to you. From a CISO's perspective, what should be the CISO's top 5-6 priorities when you're either dealing with compliance pieces, data, or cloud?
Well, Jasprit, is the question to me?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, Jasprit, from a compliance or a risk perspective, if you talk about a CISO's priorities as a CISO strategy with regards to cloud, I think as Rajesh mentioned, it's a very open discussion. Cloud adoption in business is invited. Now, CISO has to, get into the remnants and understand that, it is not all about extending or having a very defensive, close cage data center. What you need to guard, you need to guard something now cloud asset itself. So when you say a cloud asset and you say a CISO strategy, it's about putting the right data there. Because insurance in particular, in a lot of regulated industry, you have a lot of customer confidential data which needs to be prepared for risk. That does not mean that this particular data which is in the cloud is prone to exposure. It only means that when you are putting something to cloud, you have the right controls in mind. Because whatever is happening in the cloud is because of all user issues, all configuration issues, all administrative issues. So I think strengthening that piece is quite important. And if you are strengthening that piece, then you are handling.
I think we've lost him. So
Yeah.
I'll come to you, Mr. Shibu Thomas. Thanks for this. We've spoken about cloud. Being a fintech organization, I think data integrity would also play a very, very key role and is absolutely essential. What are your thoughts around how do we maintain data integrity and some of those thoughts, please?
Yeah, yes, Jasprit, good evening to everybody. I hope I'm audible. You touched a very core and a critical point here, because if you look at information security, the triad of information security itself is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. There itself, integrity is built into the core principles of information security, and thereby data integrity itself is extremely critical to the whole idea of whether you store on data on premises or on cloud. Data integrity is a key element everywhere. It's irrespective of where it is stored. I mean, and then when you take in data integrity and analyze it, the key elements there are the factors which contribute to in the integrity of data. It should be attributable, and since it's somewhere somebody should be, there should be an owner to the data. It should be relevant or current with respect to the function it's supposed to be used for, and it should be accurate also. so the challenges there are whether it's a fintech, bank, or any institution. I mean, whether you on premise or on cloud. So you, for example, you store data. I mean, on a physical storage. The physical storage, if it is, I mean, damaged, you have a data corruption issue, and thereby the integrity of the data is under question. So to take care of that, you need to have sufficient storage redundancies in place. Similarly, the most important thing is here again backups. Backups have to be there, whether you are on cloud or on premises. Backups are extremely critical, and you need to have these backups. I mean, all the appropriate backups in place such that you are able to quickly access it and restore it as and when it is required. Similarly, end-to-end encryption is another factor which we need to take care of, because when you talk about cloud specifically, right from the access endpoint to the cloud and back, and inside the cloud, data has to be encrypted end to end. There are software solutions which help you to also track the integrity of data to a certain extent. That can be used to help you out with respect to, I mean, having a visibility into how data is getting changed. Another important factor here we have to look at is the users who access the data, what sort of permissions they have, and how do they access this data. The right data to the right person at the right time is the key motto here. And you need to ensure that the scope of the user is such that, I think somebody was mentioning earlier about least privilege. The principle of least privilege has to be enforced, so that the minimum amount of privilege is available to the user to carry out his work. Nothing more, nothing less. And again, here to ensure that data is, I mean, the data you work with is true and not changed or compromised. You need to enforce. You take help of algorithms like message integrity codes, message authentication codes, etc., which would help you to create checksums and values to ensure that data, to alert you if data is to ensure that you can detect if there is a data integrity compromise. Some cloud providers also, I think there is an option for data versioning, where you can store previous versions and you can restore from them. That is another point which you can consider. But then these are all, see, the key point here is without data integrity, there's no trust. So data integrity is a must wherever you are working. And whatever you do, the either application user, somebody has to access data. And when you're accessing this data, you need to enforce, as one of the speakers earlier was mentioning, the authorized person, whoever is accessing data should be authenticated and authorized, so that we are clear that only the allowed person is accessing the data, or the person or entity accessing data has got all the permissions and authorizations to access their data. You can even look at multi-factor authentication for deleting data, so that you can avoid the risk of accidental deletion or deliberate deletion of data. Net, what I want to conclude here is that identity access of data, access of the user is very important. Similarly, backup is important, and then sufficient solutions or solutions should be there to ensure that integrity is not compromised in any way. Thank you.
Perfect. I think quite a lot to learn from you on how can we make sure that the data integrity is not compromised in any way. Mabul Alam Bhai, we missed you in the starting, but a very warm welcome to you. Attack. When we talk about cloud, when we talk about some of the new age technologies, the attack vectors are changing every day. How do you keep track of the attack vectors? And you, as a CISO, what are your roles and responsibilities? How do you make sure that you stay abreast with whatever is happening?
Thank you, Jaspreet, for the question. Attack vector will keep changing, and the pandemic has bring an opportunity to the CISOs, all the CISOs, to rethink about the security strategies, because the overall business model is changing. Now we are moving from capex to opex, so management is thinking about cloud or adoption in large scale. For a bank, for a large scale bank with legacy infrastructure, is not easy to cope up with that continuously evolving attack vectors, because it's not possible to move your workload to cloud over a day. So in a hybrid environment, with a challenge of continuously evolving attack vectors, needs a comprehensive approach from not only from the security side as well as from the IT side, compliance side, governance side. So it's a comprehensive approach need to be taken first. And as we are moving towards the API driven ecosystem, so we need to think about the API security and API threat vectors. At that moment, I think these should be the core arena to look after. And to cope up with that changes, the best strategy can be for an organizations to redefine the DevOps strategy, because it should not be DevOps, it should be DevSecOps. And we should rethink about the pipeline of CI/CD, because if you talk about continuous integration, it should need the continuous testing. If you talk about continuous deployment, then it should need continuous monitoring. Monitoring is the imperative to fight with the cyber challenges and the attack vectors, I think. And API security related attack vectors will emerge on going forward, I believe.
Super. I think from CI/CD to attack vectors increasing. Thank you so much for bringing so many new perspectives. One perspective which we have not talked, and now I'll go crisscross randomly. Mani Kiran, to you, right? From a physical security perspective, with whatever your organization does, plus the entire virtualization that Crowd brings, how do you marry both these technologies from a security perspective?
Yeah, Jaspreet. So, as you correctly said, because cybersecurity is one of the key aspects when we are operating on cloud. And apart from that, even though the cloud infrastructure would be managed by a third party who would be having his own cybersecurity guidelines and certifications to ensure that their cloud infrastructure is completely secured enough. At the same time, the data where it is processed, right? So where you have the local processing equipment, so that is where we strongly feel the infrastructure should be completely secured. So otherwise, what will happen is, even though your cloud is secured enough, the processed data at the site or the generated place may not remain secure. So what we ensure is that we have physical related security related solutions, and apart from that, we also ensure that the environment in terms of critical infrastructure which is required to host the applications, critical applications at the end locations, are also secured, and the equipments are completely safe enough in terms of cybersecurity threats. The reason is, you will be having equipments like UPS systems to power up the devices. Then you would be having cooling to ensure 24/7 operations. So, and these devices, as Mr. Mahbub was mentioning, that monitoring is the key perspective. So when you start monitoring any device, whether it is an IT or a non-IT device, you have to ensure that these devices which are connecting again on back on IoT internet are also safe in terms of cyber security. So that's where so we strongly believe that both physical security as well as cyber security are key things, yeah, for any data processing.
Excellent, excellent. Babita, with the coming age, new data privacy laws in India, how will concepts like data localization, etc., work when we are one hand moving towards the entire cloud, and really in cloud we don't know where the data is getting stored?
Yeah, just be rightly said, and many of the people have covered the integrity part and the security aspects of the cloud. Just to add on, whenever we are selecting a cloud, uh, we are more into the transfer of our workload, and we are not thinking about how secure it is. So when we are transferring, for example, if I want to plan to host my loan process system to cloud, first thing which will come into my mind is how secured it will be my customer data, and whether it has been secured, whether if at all any breaches happen, how it will impact my business, and what will be the reputational loss which I have to bear. So, to ensure that the service providers should follow a good cybersecurity culture in their environment, and moreover, like lot of insider attacks are happening, especially in the cloud environment. Whichever attacks which we have seen is most of the kind is from the insider level. So, extra care should be taken care for the authentication and power management process in a cloud service by the cloud service provider. And that is what there are a lot of concerns when we are moving to cloud, that we are not having a proper visibility of the cloud. There's no proper transparency or how the data is being handled, whether it is stored within the country, because there it has been shared, it has been shared by many other vendors also. So when it has been shared by other vendors, there might be cross selling of the data. So all these are some of the concerns everyone have with regards to cloud. Now, when we are coming into the data privacy protection bill, it is in a way I say it is a very good action or plan which we are going to take forward, because the customer trust on us will increase, and organizations like us have will be benefited more, because the data which is with our service provider, they will be more responsible, because this when this law come into existence, there will be defined roles that need to be provided by the data controllers as well as the data processors. So the responsibility part is moving to service providers also. And one of the key factor of the bill is about the critical private data of our customers. And when it comes to the critical data, what we say is the data which cannot be anomalous, like a fingerprint, Aadhaar number, or card number, like that. So even now also we are taking extra care for holding in this data securely. But when this bill comes into existence, the payment transaction, the whole everything need to be done in a very secured way. And data localization is also one of the part of this bill, wherein we have to ensure that whether the data is payment data is within India. If it is not within India, within 24 hours it should be brought to India. And most of the cloud solution, as I said earlier, is spread across a multi location, and we are not having a proper visibility of whether it is within the India or not. That cloud service provider now should come up with a clarity of that also. And it is part of the bill. And the next is the clear one of the challenge that might come across when the bill comes into existence is the responsibility of data fiduciary, that we have to ensure that tell the customer what purpose we are taking this data, and how it has been processed. So for a certain extent I feel that it might be challenging in tackling such situations. And when we are taking up that personal this storing of the data, personal identification details and all, or we have to be a little more careful, because now till now there was no legal perspective or law there, and there won't be any penalty. It is based on the best practices we are following. So when this law comes into existence, we'll be more careful in dealing with the customer data, or sharing of the data, localization of the data, whether the data is encrypted. So all these things we have to take an extra care, otherwise it even will raise to penalty.
Super. That was excellent. Satyanandan, right? With so many data privacy laws coming in, how will it hamper the cloud growth? It's a chicken and egg story, right?
Yeah. It's always a chicken and egg story with regards to the cloud as a solution and then data privacy regulations. So, Jasprit, what is more important to understand is that regulations are always evolving, and business is going to move ahead, and the regulations are going to be made around them. Regulations are not here to hamper growth of business. I think I think I also know that you are all part of so many data privacy regulation discussions, and there has been a clear point which has always been coming out that if businesses require cloud, then there is regulation has to come around it. So even the data privacy regulation which comes as of now, in the next parliament session or whenever it comes, I think it will come with the respective clauses where it takes quite an interest of the business in mind, where cloud adoption is required, and as the cloud adoption is required, then accordingly, the one regulation which has already come on the primary data being should be in the country itself. The sovereignty has been taken into consideration, and the primary copy of the data has to be within the country. But there has to be some amount of limitation with regards to what is the analytics and what are the other massaging solutions you can use, where you can host a copy of the data outside the country. So such flexibilities, I'm very sure this regulation will definitely bring in, because this is again a chicken and egg story. Tomorrow you give so much of conveniences to business. At some point of time, if there is a breach and there is a malicious code which has been used to access at a certain data which is hosted outside the country, where the controls were not proper, then regulation will again come and bite us back, saying that yet we had earlier told that we had to strengthen it, and now because of the business convenience we had loosened. So it will always be a chicken and egg story, but what I understand would win is that it is business would win and regulations will be around them. And that is the way it should happen. The controls has to be built around the business rather than controls restrict the growth of business. So in whatever way
or business built around controls, or business built around controls, if I were to put it that way.
Yeah, it always works the same way. The risk is taken by the business. It's not the chief CISO, or is not the the CRO who takes the risk. It's the business who takes the risk. So regulations are also
Perfect.
like a CRO function. The regulations are also like a risk function or a compliance function. They have to enable them with right controls so that they do not run away, and make some mistakes. So I think that is the way it will evolve. I see the direction the same way, and the way I see in a lot of different bodies the discussions happening, I see that amount of maturity with our framing, the people who are framing the regulation, and the business side, people who are proposing the conveniences what they want. So I think it's best for the interest of the country.
Perfect. Before I come to you, Mr. Shibu, for closing comments, Mr. Chandra, with so many moving pieces, whether it's cloud is moving, we've got regulations coming in from a data privacy perspective. There is this new age AI ML which no fintech can survive without. What do you think would be the roadmap for next 3-4 years for such organizations?
Roadmap for fintech organization in order to safeguard themselves?
Yes, absolutely. Safeguard themselves also, right? A lot of fintech organizations that I know of, for example, I know of a very brilliant organization. What it does is it understands my spending patterns. It does a lot of analysis on that spending patterns and tells me this is where I can cut off, this is where I can optimize, etc., etc. But all of that on the cost of having every detail of my transaction, right? So how do you balance both, Chandra? A question which I wanted to ask you in the first, but I think I got dropped off, and then I moved on. Yes.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, I think the most important thing in all of these things is the customer's privacy. So that needs to be set or identified by all of these organizations who are building the AI mechanisms or doing whatever analytics that is being done on the data to generate that intelligent information that is useful that you said. So I think privacy has to be respected. Nothing at the cost of privacy. I think that needs to be the top priority for any of the organization that is implementing any of these tools and mechanisms. And if you identify this as one of the top goal, of course, the security is, has list of those requirements that all of these organizations must implement when you identify that I'm going to protect the consumer privacy. there's one side of it. I mean, there is banks and all of these insurance, financial institutions, and then there are these other fintech organizations who are applying the intelligence on these data, which is hosted by the bank, but actually consumers' data. So all of these parties have to have some sort of an arrangement where the privacy is identified as a topmost priority and respected, and whatever guidelines that are being applied or created, whether it's the regulations or the general guideline, I think all of these also must pay attention to privacy or individual privacy. So I think that is going to be the most important. So if we have to do that, then of course the mechanisms are there to protect the consumer privacy by adhering to these regulatory guidelines. That is number one. And also implementing all the cybersecurity measures that I talked about earlier also to ensure the privacy and the data is not stolen, right? Of course, there are other vectors also. I mean, there can be a denial of service, for example, and a consumer is not able to access the service that I want to avail. So there are, of course, other types of vectors, but I think I would put privacy at in the top of all of these things, and needs to be protected and need to be respected. The other thing that I would say is, of course, there will be some amount of confusion with the new regulations coming in. The localization is another requirement that you said, and cloud adoption has become inevitable, and people are hurrying up to move to the cloud. So in all of these confusions, I think over a period of time, these things starts to settle down, and technology has always been a boon for providing the best services, and we must adopt to all of these and mature as a process.
Super, thank you. We are very close to the end time, Mr. Shibu. I would want you to summarize this for us from what does it mean from a data privacy perspective, because I think the main theme that's come out, we've spoken about cloud, we've spoken about data privacy, and I think both are going to be very, very key concerns or growth areas, so to say, especially given the entire Southeast Asia market, because we've got friends from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka also. So your thoughts, Mr. Shibu?
Yeah, yes, Jaspreet, and thanks to all the speakers here. I think it has been an extremely interesting discussion. We have to quickly summarize. We had, the topic of discussion, of course, was data, cloud, and compliance. All the three elements are extremely critical in today's scenario, especially with respect to pandemic, on work from home, remote, etc., etc. A lot of people moving to cloud. I think cloud adoption is growing by leaps and bounds. So the Mr. Rajesh was talking about risks versus benefits of going to cloud, where you need to, and the journey of going to cloud, of course, has to be tied into a clear cybersecurity strategy, so that you move safely from on-premise to cloud. Or even if you're starting with cloud, also you need to ensure the cybersecurity aspects there, keeping in mind all the regulatory elements which are controlling the privacy and other data localization requirements. Regulators have, we all know that RBI or SEBI or IRDA or PFRDA all, have got their own guidelines which we need to look into. One of them is definitely the storage of payment data localization, etc. Even e-commerce providers have got, I think some requirements for keeping data in the country, and the attack vectors which are threatening us or preventing us or challenging us from using the cloud needs to be taken care by, all elements of that. We need to understand the vectors and ensure that sufficient risk mitigation is done, or the threats and vulnerabilities are taken care of. Physical infrastructure is another area we touched, where the criticality of that infrastructure is also has got a role to play to ensure that your cloud services are not interrupted. We have heard of cloud service interruptions due to many reasons, but then unless you have proper physical infrastructure in place which is secure, you simply cannot run not only cloud on-premise, nothing will run anywhere. And of course, underlying all this is the element of customer sitting in front of you. At the end of the day, which are the stakeholders? Here, quickly to summarize, we have got you have got your organization, your customers, your vendors, and your business partners. All of this data is there somewhere lying with you, and is your clear and absolute duty to ensure that this data is protected, whether you are on premise or on cloud. Cloud more so because, for example, there is a data empowerment and protection architecture coming out. There's a framework. It's a framework where your financial data will be now, with your consent, can be shared across the spectrum of BFSI players, insurers, banks, tax, and a number of people, which will help you to plan your, as Jaspreet was mentioning earlier, help you to plan your financial aspects in various ways. I'm not going. It's a framework. It's in draft mode, but the point is that underlying point, which means that private data, personal data will be all sort of data will be on cloud, and we need to ensure that this data is protected at any cost, with all the current controls, regulatory controls, and your own cybersecurity controls in place, so that a safe and secure business environment is created for the customer to have a absolutely secure digital journey. A digital journey, which is our duty of all the players in this market, to ensure that customer gets a safe digital journey. I think I would like to close with that. That is a message which we want to give, I think.
Perfect.
Yes,
Perfect. Last 1 minute to Rafael joined late. Rafael, one question, one closing comments, but less than 30 seconds.
Yes.
In one sentence, data privacy cloud.
There should be no compromise about data privacy, no doubt.
No compromise on data privacy. Mani, your thought?
No compromise.
Yeah, so whether it is a cloud or on-prem, cyber security and physical security are highly critical, and every equipment should be secured enough. So whatever the communications happening, the mode of communication should be through secure channel. So that's
Perfect.
where we strongly
Super,
feel.
thank you.
Yeah.
I think the stress on physical security, though not a real part of the agenda, but cannot be any less, right? We can see what can happen to power grids all across the globe. Finally, last but not the least, Babita ma'am, yeah.
I would like to supplement, as we are digitizing the data from the physical to digital asset. So physical security requirement become less than the digital.
Excellent. Babita, your thoughts, please, and then we will close.
Yeah. When it is, I believe in a hybrid technology. It's not only the cloud, it is a mixture of cloud. So whenever we are planning for a cloud solution, we should see our business perspective and what actually a business wants from the cloud. And before moving to the cloud, we should, as a CISO, I would like to say that we should ensure that the security policies of the cloud vendor is meeting the security policy of the company as well as the regulatory need of the country. So based on that, if we are having a proper visibility of what is happening in the cloud, we can very well welcome cloud, and we can move forward much high in digitalization.
Perfect. I think it was an absolute pleasure, whether it is hearing perspectives around physical security from Mani, bringing in Schneider perspectives, of Mr. Shibu talking about data privacy, cross-border issues from Mr. Rafael, Mabul Bhai, Chandra, Satyanandan, your thoughts around the CISO's perspective. Thank you very much. I had a great time moderating this panel. I hope all of you, your families, are safe in these trying times. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jaspreet.
Thank you.
Keep safe.
Thank you, Jaspreet. Thanks for having us.
Thanks
Thanks to everybody.